Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Hello, Andy. Good to see you. Hello,
Welcome.
everyone. Welcome.
Welcome to all of the folks joining us today. Today is the exciting day one of the Low Code Marathon. We're so happy to have everyone join us today. And as you know, I'm joined today by Katherine Kostereva, the founder and CEO of Creatio. And the topic, obviously, for the entire marathon is around low code company. And I think as we discovered in our survey that was recently released on the state of the low code and no code industry, there's obviously a lot of awareness out there about low code and no code and a lot of understanding of the benefits and promise of this as a technology, as a movement. But I don't know that there's a good understanding widely held about what it is to be a low code company. So I thought that would be a perfect way for us to start the whole session and give you the opportunity to kind of share your view on what does it mean to be a low code company in terms of people, processes, technology.
Absolutely. Would love to. Would love to. That's, as you know, this is my favorite topic. So, when you look at the organization and you actually talk to any executive or leader of the organization, and you ask this person who in the company owns your team, your people, their excitement, their engagement level, the answer is going to be, we own it. I own it as a leader of the unit, a leader of the business unit, a leader of the organization. When you ask the same question about the processes in the business unit or in the whole organization, you're going to hear exactly the same answer. As a leader, I own the processes in my business unit. However, when you ask questions about technology, you're most probably going to hear that my IT department owns the technologies that are being used in my organization. And that's the challenge that we see on the way of really becoming a digital first company, giving technology, business process automation tools in the hands of the knowledge workers, of the business users, and having IT people, IT experts, taking care of the more complex things like governance, like admin, like integrations, like access rights, you name it.
That makes a lot of sense. In fact, I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to launch our first poll of the session. So for our audience, please be aware we're going to be launching a few polls throughout today's session and throughout all the other sessions. We will leave these polls open. They'll remain open for the entire session, so the results will be available to you at the end. And the first one will be really share with us, how far are you in your digital transformation journey, if you've begun at all? And then that'll be really interesting, I think, for us to see where that goes. I don't know, Catherine, do you have a thought as to how far our audience is going to be in this journey?
Actually, we do have the results of our survey that we conducted recently. You remember, among 1,000 organizations. And we actually had a question over there. We had a question about the percentage of business processes in the organization that people believe are fully automated and work seamlessly just thanks to the technology. Remember the answer, Andy,
I think
about the
that was
percentage.
only about 10% were fully automated, if I recall.
Exactly. Only 10% fully automated and 30% not automated at all, which actually brings us to the phenomenal number, astonishing number of 90% of business processes being either not automated at all or just partially automated. So that's a huge gap, and that's a huge way forward to the digital first companies and building the digital first companies.
Do you see a gap in vision, or is it a gap in execution between the vision of getting there and the reality of doing it?
That's a fantastic question. That's actually, I don't think there is a gap in vision from all the conversations I have with multiple customers and partners of Creatio. Do you remember 10 years ago when we were talking to the financial services organizations, everyone was trying to become a digital company, a software company. Banks
Right.
start to call themselves software companies, actually.
Mhm.
What I see today doesn't matter what industry we're talking to. It could be manufacturing, it could be wholesale, distribution, healthcare. Everyone is building a software company inside their organization, like making a software company. And we call it a low code company. That's actually what we mean when we say a software low code company. So, in terms of the vision, I believe every organization that wants to thrive, it is there. Like everyone understands that digital first is definitely the way forward. The challenge actually is with the resources available. And when I'm talking about the resources, I'm even not talking about financial resources. I'm actually talking about skilled resources, about personnel available inside the organizations to actually automate and build those business processes with inside the organizations.
So is that what you view the biggest challenge at making this transformation journey? Because I agree with you. By the way, I'm old enough to have been through several of these transformations, and we saw this with mobile. We saw this with a number of other areas. When you talk about the challenges and skilled resources, is that the biggest challenge that you see for these organizations?
100%. And actually, here I should again refer to the survey that we conducted. Do you remember this number? 43% of people who have actually, it's 430 people said that lack of skilled resources is the biggest challenge on the way of digital transformation. So that's exactly what we hear from the market. That's exactly what we see over there.
I think this would be an interesting poll to see if the audience knows, as I know you've shared before, the actual scope of this challenge. So we're gonna put another poll up there about how many knowledge workers are there in the world that need to be satisfied as part of this latest movement. It's interesting, Katherine. I don't think until you actually see it in numbers, I think we all intuitively know, sure, there's a lot out there, but I don't know that the scope is really felt until you actually see it in black and white. I don't know. What's your thought?
Right. And again, we're talking about a huge number here, right? We're talking about like 25-30% of the world population being those knowledge workers and having a need in enterprise software to automate their business processes, right? So we're talking about. Can I say it out loud? Can I say the number already?
Yeah, go for it. We're starting to see some responses come in, so let's.
Okay, good. It's 1.7 billion knowledge workers in the world that use at least one business apps when they do their work, when they do their job. And the demand, actually, talking about the demand for the business apps, the current demand is 500 million business apps to be created globally, again, to satisfy the demand that comes from those knowledge workers. So it's actually a huge scope that needs to be automated somehow. That is why I'm saying that the vision is there. The challenge actually is in execution, which brings us to the shortage of the skilled resources to automate those business processes.
Well, I think to that point, so we've talked about how big the population is and how many apps they need. I don't think we've answered the question of how few in today's modern age, how many few developers there are to satisfy that. Do you recall that number?
Of course I do. That keeps me up at night. It's just 25 million. So 25 million software developers in the world today just to satisfy this demand. And it is obvious that in order to bring this value to the companies and making every organization a low-code company or a software company, if you will, we need to disrupt the market. The market of enterprise software, it needs to be disrupted. And we do believe here at Creatio that low-code, no-code technology, that is exactly what is changing completely and reimagining actually the enterprise software market.
But then, Katherine, I mean, is it really just that simple as equip the employees with these new tools and the company is transformed?
Okay, so great question. Let's talk a little bit about the market of low-code, no-code, right? As of today, the market is actually split into two categories, if you will. One is no-code, which is platforms and tools for those knowledge workers who have zero IT skills and who can build pretty simple apps using those technologies. These days, pure no-code can hardly be used to build real enterprise apps when you have a ton of integrations, a ton of requirements in terms of governance and access rights and interconnection between different departments. So all these enterprise requirements, they definitely require a more sophisticated approach. And this more sophisticated approach is low-code platforms that do have more comprehensive IT tools to satisfy the requirements of the enterprise software. But at the same time, they need IT skills to be able to build software with using those low-code technology. And what we see on the market is actually that those two types of the platforms are merging. While no-code platforms are given access to more technical tools to code from time to time as well, at the same time, low-code technology is adding more and more no-code tools to give the capabilities for the knowledge workers without IT skills automate their business processes.
But I think that's fascinating. But I guess I see a question coming in, and I've heard this before. Then, and it's a fair question. Is given where we're coming from, and people thinking about low code, no code, I think one of the concerns that they have is deep customization possible, right? The actual, they think of custom software in the old days. You could get exactly down to a fine grain. Is that possible with no code tools? Actually having deep customization.
And that's exactly where the vendors of no-code like Creatio are going. That's exactly what our R&D is focused on, to give those tools within the no-code environment to provide deep customization, as deep as possible. So when we're talking about custom UI, business process automation, dynamic case management, logic behind the system, this definitely can be done by the no-code tools. The challenge comes when you need to integrate this application that you just built with the in-house software piece, which actually might not even have a documented API. So that's where usually software developers come into play. And that's one of the areas that still needs improvement in terms of the no-code development tools. But we're getting there. So let me answer your question. That's definitely the vision, to give as comprehensive no-code tools to the knowledge workers as possible. So will we be there? Absolutely, yes.
So that lends us up to a question that I wanted to ask, which is, if we're thinking about low-code, no-code, oftentimes it's, some people view it as a tool set, but what about, actual out-of-the-box capabilities as opposed to just having the building blocks? Where do you see that?
Out of the box, Andy, that's, as you and I know, that's what actually brings this phenomenal time to market, because it's always been and it's always will be the easiest way to automate your process is if you have exactly the type of the out of the box app that can automate exactly your business process. You just take an app, you start using it, and you're done, right? Yep. So that's the easiest way. That's the fastest time to market, and that's the real acceleration. And then the question arises, so actually, how can we possibly have so many out-of-the-box apps to automate all the unique business processes that exist in all the different industries and all the different business units? So the answer is, here at Creatio, we're building those composable apps. When you take different components, different apps, applications, out-of-the-box solutions and applications, and you combine them together to get the solution which is as close to what you actually need as possible. So this ability to compose your apps like building blocks, like Lego bricks, if you will, and build exactly what you need, that's going to be the fastest time to market. And that's the unique value prop when you not just deliver the no-code, low-code platform, which itself already is a fantastic foundation of any application, but also you have all those different components and apps already built on top of the platform and combined the way you need them to combine into the unique application that your company and your business unit needs.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, that the new generation of folks that are in the workforce today are, I was thinking we were saying building blocks and Lego blocks like we grew up with, but for this generation, it's Minecraft blocks. It's so much more powerful than than kind of when I was sitting on the ground doing it. And this takes me to, I know we're short on time, and I want to give you an opportunity to answer this question for our audience. But so maybe you can share with us, how do you see the future of enterprise software?
And I just want to add to what you started saying,
please.
Andy. That is so cool. Minecraft or Roblox, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Those kids and this generation, it is naturals, right? They are naturals. They know already how to build things using software products. And that's exactly what they're doing with Minecrafts and Robloxes of the world today. And this is exactly what they're going to be doing when they come to the workplace. And when
they're not going to be satisfied.
Right? And when they will become those knowledge workers that we've been talking about. So they're going to be building their constructions and their solutions out of the multiple apps and components of the enterprise apps. And that's where the industry is going. And talking about the future of the enterprise software industry, that's exactly where Creatio sees the future is coming. The future is definitely low-code, no-code platform as a foundation of any enterprise software, with the out-of-the-box apps and solutions on top of this application, but not just single applications, standalone applications, but those applications that could be combined in a complex solution to automate and to bring value to this particular enterprise and to this particular customer.
So let me offer up our last poll of this session and find out from the audience, what do you see in the audience there as your biggest challenge for your organization in your particular digital transformation process? We've talked a bit about what we've seen in our studies, what we've seen in general. I'd love to hear from you in the specific area of the audience. And maybe as one of our final questions here for you, Katherine, is, we've talked about the future. You've talked about the vision with all of these folks coming into the workforce. We've talked about, the limited number of resources there. What do you see happening to the traditional approach of development, or the traditional developers out there? Is there a threat to their job? What's going on with the traditional development, the work that's being done out there? Does it still have a place in the future? What are your thoughts?
It's absolutely no threat at all. Moreover, I can tell you, I have no doubt that software development, that's going to be the hottest job on the market for many years to come. Like for many years, that's going to be the biggest demand in the market we're going to see for the software developers. Actually, to your point, let me tell you the story that actually happened to me yesterday. I talked to one of the HR leaders here in Boston, and he asked me a question. We tried to build, he works for the software company, and they tried to build an outsourcing software team. And he was asking me, do I know any country in the world that actually doesn't have a shortage of software developers, and where they can come and hire 100 software developers within a few months? And the answer is no. There is no place in the world like that anymore, because software developers are such a huge demand for software developers. And obviously, the further we go, the more comprehensive technological requirements are going to be, and the skill set of those software developers and the requirements to those skill set is going to be higher and higher, which is fantastic, which is great. But at the same time, when we talk about process automation, case management, when we talk about the interface forms for the business users, these doesn't need to be done by software developers. It needs to be done by knowledge workers. And that's the disruption of the market which is coming. And that's the revolution which is coming. And that's exactly how the enterprise software market these days is changing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that insight and for spending this time with us. I want to thank you all for joining and wish you all the best low-code marathon you can have. Hope to see you at all the future sessions.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the marathon.